When Soraya first saw Shah Mohammad Reza at the Gulistan Palace, she was invited there by the Shah's elder sister, Princess Shahz, for afternoon tea. The girl timidly approached the ruler, intending to bow respectfully. But the Shah, against all rules of etiquette, embraced her and kissed her firmly. So, according to Soraya, and began their love, magical, like a fairy tale from 1001 Nights. The spring of 1935 in Berlin was wet and rainy. But as soon as the wind dispersed the clouds and the shy sun looked shyly out from behind the clouds, the streets and parks of the city were filled with people. The regulars of Kurfürstendamm and Museum Island had long ago noticed a strange couple. A tall, stately gentleman and a small, surprisingly beautiful girl, whom he called by a sonorous but unusual name Soraya. Dark-skinned, with blue-black hair and bright emerald eyes, she was not like the white-haired, sturdy German children. One day the little girl fell down, splashing mud on her dress, and cried bitterly. "Don't cry, princess," her father consoled her, "when you grow up, you will have the whole world." Perhaps he did not suppose then that his words would prove prophetic. On that same overcast April day in 1935, a young man with a smiling swarthy face walked slowly past Charlottenburg Castle to Museum Island. His name was Mohammad Reza, and it was obvious from his curious gaze wandering around that he was in Berlin for the first time. Their first meeting did not take place, but the wheel of fortune, trembling, began to turn slowly. They were to see each other in 12 years and 7 months. The daughter of a scion of a noble Iranian family and the beauty of German Eva Karl, Soraya was born in 1932 in a small Iranian town of Isfahan. 10 months later, the family, after a long journey through Baku, Moscow and Warsaw, moving to Berlin. Soraya's first friend was her grandfather Franz Karl. Being a native of Russia, he often chatted with his favorite granddaughter in Russian. Thanks to her grandfather's lessons, after a short time she herself could speak the language quite fluently. Soraya in general had an amazing memory and aptitude for languages. She spoke with a typical Berlin accent in German, chattered cheerfully in Arabic, and knew several fairy tales from 1001 Nights by heart. She loved to listen to fairy tales endlessly, imagining herself as the heroine, and looked forward to the moment when she would grow up and meet her prince. Little Soraya was supported in her romantic dreams by her father. Heir to the ancient Persian family Bakhtiary, forced to emigrate to Berlin after the Iranian coup of 1921, he could not accept the modest position of a teacher at a craft school. He was sure that someday he would return to his homeland, and he had high hopes for his daughter. It was not without reason that she bore the name Soraya, which translates from Arabic as 7, a number sacred to Islam. In 1936, when the situation in Europe became alarming, the family decided to return to Iran, and after a short time arrived in Isfahan. Soraya did not know at that time that she would be parting from her second homeland for a long time. The next time she would see Germany would be as a queen. At the same time, in 1936, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Crown Prince of Iran, returned to Tehran from Switzerland, neighboring Germany, a graduate of the privileged Swiss college, La Rosey. His father Reza Shah, a dictator and stern man, tried to bring up his son in strictness, but the impressionable and timid boy resisted the harsh mush. In the opinion of his mother, Queen Taj al-Malik, who was called no other than a witch at court, Mohammad Reza was not the most successful candidate for the throne. A younger son, Ali Reza, she thought, could have been a stronger and more influential ruler. But it was Mohammad Reza who succeeded his father by right of precedence, and no amount of palace intrigue could change the existing order of things. During the time of the Crown Prince's studies abroad, Tehran changed noticeably. The capital was dominated by the European spirit. The prince, who was addicted to bars and clubs in Europe, returned home and was pleased to find that he would not be bored at home either. A variety of nightlife venues were located literally at every turn. Mohammad Reza showed an absolute reluctance to engage in public affairs, so much so that the Shah did not assign him any serious tasks. His studies were limited to enrollment in the Aviation Academy. Within months, the Crown Prince had established a reputation as a playboy. However, the course of his carefree bachelor life was soon broken. The Shah decided to marry his wayward son. Moreover, he started with his characteristic straightforwardness and determination, more suitable for solving engineering than love problems, Mohammad Reza later recalled. The Shah's choice fell on the 17-year-old sister of Egyptian King Farouk. The prince's wedding to Fawzia Fawad took place in the spring of 1939. In August 1941, Reza Shah was overthrown and fled to South Africa. The new Shah of Iran suddenly became the 22-year-old crown prince, who up to that point had no experience in ruling a state, and planned to live a quiet, non-state-related life for another 10 years. Even after assuming the throne, Mohammad Reza did not bother with political problems. What really interested him were girls, noisy companies and fun parties. Fawzia was well aware of all the affairs of her husband. Finally, the ego of the proud queen could not stand. In 1947, Fawzia, forced to leave her daughter Shahnaz, returned to Cairo so as never to see her unfaithful husband again. 3 years later, the Queen Mother decided to remarry Mohammad Reza. A certain court lady showed the Taj pictures of her niece, who turned out to be Soraya. The Shah's mother liked the girl so much that she immediately sent her daughter Shams to London, where Soraya lived at that time. Princess comes from Soraya in delight. The girls are not separated for a minute. A few days later they traveled together to Paris, where, as noted by journalists, visit the most expensive stores and ateliers. No one doubted that the wedding is not far off. The newspapers were full of headlines. Iran will soon have a new queen. Many years later Soraya would tell the German journalist Walter Krauss how her childhood dream had come true. However, fate, which had been playing the role of matchmaker up to that point, suddenly got bogged down. It was already appointed wedding day December 27, 1950. But Soraya suddenly fell ill with typhoid fever. The wedding had to be postponed for a month and a half. It was impossible to postpone it longer. According to Muslim customs, in the lunar months of Muharram and Safar comes into force a ban on marriage, which lasts until August. Its violation threatens the spouses with misfortune and illness. Therefore, the wedding was decided to play on February 12, 1951, although the doctors warned that Soraya is still very weak and may not recover by the day of the wedding ceremony. Indeed, she almost did not get out of bed and could not even participate in the fitting of the wedding dress ordered by Christian Dior. She was replaced by a court lady. Thus, it was not the bride who wore the wedding gown first, but another woman. But Soraya did not believe in omens. Why, when the Shah is so in love with her? Indeed, during his illness Mohammad Reza did not leave the bride a step. As soon as Soraya mentioned that she wanted truffles from Springley, the next day a plane landed at Tehran airport, delivering her favorite treat from Switzerland. Finally, the long-awaited day February 12 arrived. The royal family and dignitaries from around the world gathered in the Hall of Mirrors of the Marble Palace. After the wedding ceremony, the Queen received royal gifts. Antique handmade silver candlesticks from King George VI of Great Britain, the best wines from France, rare crystal from U.S. President Truman, a white mink fur coat worth $750,000 from Stalin. But the solemn revelry was marred. As Soraya was climbing the stairs, her long plume caught on the banister. A soldier who came to the rescue cut the thread with his saber. The confusion, which lasted only a few seconds, gave rise to ominous speculation. This incident will be remembered 2 years later, when the American tabloid press will appear in the notes that the Queen of Iran is expecting a child, but, apparently, will be forced to terminate the pregnancy for health reasons, that the Shah is cheating on his wife, and expects from the Queen only the heir. All these rumors will culminate in a scandalous press conference that will lead the Queen to a nervous breakdown. But all this will happen later, and while the newlyweds, being in happy ignorance about their future, were in love and carefree. Abandoning politics and bachelor fun, Mohammad Reza all his time devoted to Soraya. In 1953, the attention of the world was riveted to the events taking place in Iran. The Shah, engaged in dangerous political games, faced the threat of a coup and was floundering between Tehran, Baghdad and Rome. On these trips he was accompanied by Soraya. They were more like escapades. It was during this time that she was called the Queen with Sad Eyes in Rome. Soraya stays while Mohammad Reza is rushed to his homeland after the coup in Iran. Doctors say she needs rest, but this is being questioned by the tabloid press due to the fact that she was seen walking the day before. This event has caused a lot of talk in the tabloid press. She agrees to meet with journalists only because the Iranian embassy insists on it, and for the first time she hears being said aloud what she had previously only dared to whisper behind her back. Is it true that the Shah is going to divorce her? She indignantly rejects this ridiculous suggestion, but then a new question follows. Is Your Majesty expecting an heir to the throne? Silence. Then the Queen stands up and slowly leaves the hall. In the summer of 1954, newspapers around the world once again raised a fuss about Soraya's name. The Queen of Iran is infertile, the Shah is seriously thinking about divorce, the reporters claimed. However, this time the rumors turned out to be true. Soraya really could not have children. The couple repeatedly consulted doctors. First to their own, then, at the insistence of the U.S. Embassy counselor, dedicated to the private life of the royal couple, Soraya was observed by an American gynecologist. But nothing helped. 4 times at night and 2 in the morning, she complained. "Can't I have a child?" The royal couple's childlessness suited the Queen Mother just fine. According to rumors, Taj al-Malik hoped that Mohammad Reza would die without leaving an heir. Then her favorite Ali Reza would take the throne. But in 1954, tragedy struck. Ali Reza died in an airplane crash. Now Iran needed a new heir. In March 1958, after 7 years together, the Shah and Soraya parted. Mohammad Reza Pahlavi announces to his country over the radio, "I love Soraya. But I am forced to sacrifice my love in the interests of the monarchy." The Shah's last gift to his beloved was a special decree. She received a lifetime right to be called Her Imperial Highness Princess Soraya and a large cash reward, but had to leave Iran. The princess settled in Rome, where she began a new unfamiliar life. In Tehran she was welcomed everywhere as a queen. Here she was an equal among equals. But not for the paparazzi. They did not leave Soraya alone. One day, someone noticed that the eyes of the princess became cheerful. When director Franco Indovina died in a plane crash, she decided to leave Rome because of too many sad memories associated with that city and moved to Paris. Her Imperial Highness Princess Soraya lived in the French capital until October 25, 2001, but her life has always been shrouded in mystery. It is only known that Soraya considered charity to be her life's work and gave her free time to her favorite horses. She was asked many times why she never married again. To this, Princess Soraya with a smile answered, "It is impossible, for I was the king's consort." Mohammad Reza married for the 3rd time a girl belonging to a little-known family from Azerbaijan. Her name was Vera, and she had studied architecture in Paris.